Hello, young artists. My name is Miss Marquetta. I'm a textile artist and I'm a quilter, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. When I am at home in my studio, I make art in many kinds of ways, but my favorite way to make art is stamping. All I do is grab a brush and something to stamp with, and I pat my paint on it, and then I stamp it down on the fabric. But before I demonstrate that to you, I want to show you some printed fabric that I did so that you could be inspired. This block has yellow and blue and pink and black and some other colors. This shape looks like a diamond. It has 4 sides, and when I made this stamp, I put all these lines in it so that it would look interesting. What's that shape? I think that's a triangle, but it has lines on it to make it have a design. Let's look at this one. It has other shapes on it that we haven't seen before. Let's see. Right in the middle, it has a flower shape. And going around the flower shape, we see circles where it's a tiny dot and a circle and a bigger circle and a bigger circle and a bigger circle. Right here, I see rectangles in a row like they're marching along. Now look at this one, my friends. I thought this was amazing because I overlapped circles. Overlapping is when you put one design over the edge of another design. On this side of the block, you see that big green circle. Let's look at these shapes that are on this stamped block. This is a big rectangle, but it has half circle designs on it. We have another teeny tiny rectangle that has half circles in it. So when I'm making my stamped fabric blocks, I like to put a lot of different shapes and a lot of different colors. Young artists, I'd like to share with you some objects that I found around the house that you could use to paint with. We're going to be stamping with cardboard, with sponges, paper towel rolls, Q-tips, a bottle cap, and some baby carrots. Young artists, the types of paint that we are going to be using are water-based paints. But sometimes we might not have paint. But you could stamp using old coffee that has gotten cold. You have to ask your caretaker or your parent, can you use a little bit of coffee? Now this is wild. I have some honey mustard, and you could use honey mustard to stamp with. The kind of brushes that we'll be using are foam brushes. But if you don't have a foam brush, all you need to do is get an old pencil, fold up a piece of paper towel, and put it on with a rubber band. And you could use this to put paint on your stamping tools. What I'd like to do right now is to show you what kinds of designs these things will make. And we'll create a wonderful piece of stamped art. And I'm just getting a little bit on my brush, just the tip. Then, let's see, I'm going to try the paper towel roll. I just dab the paint on it with my brush, and then I stamp it. And it makes a circle. Look, overlapping. On top. There. They're overlapping and touching. Isn't that cool? Let's try this corrugated cardboard. We'll get us some more paint, and we're just gonna pat that paint on that corrugated paper. Then we could take it, now that it's loaded with paint, and we could just press it down on our paper. And we press, and then, look, it made a lot of lines. Let's try something else. I would like to try the baby carrot. Let's see. Okay, pat with the orange paint on the orange baby carrot. And I'm going to put it right here. Wow, look at the little design I made. And I could take those designs and I could put them next to one another. I could put them on top of one another. And I could just create something really interesting. What about this Q-tip? I think it would be fun. And I don't even need to use my sponge brush with the Q-tip. I could just dip it in the paint and go press, dip it in the paint, and press. You notice I'm being gentle. I'm not banging it down to print. I'm pressing it down to print. And with all these designs that I'm putting on here, we could have a beautiful work of art. I'm going to try the coffee. Let's see. We're going to use our paper towel brush to do this, my friends. So I'm going to dip it in the coffee, and I'm going to take my bottle cap, and I'm going to pat it all around the edge and see what happens. Because sometimes things don't turn out the way that you think they should. You can't see it really well, but that's a brown circle. Now, I want to make it even more brown. So I'm going to take my stamping tool, and I'm just going to stamp a little more brown inside the brown circle. And you see, you could color the inside of your circle with your stamping tool. Now, last but not least, my friends, I want to show you this stamping tool. This is a sponge. Sometimes your parents or caregivers might have a sponge in the kitchen. However, any tool that you get to use for stamping, you must ask an adult. Now let's see what else is interesting. You know what? This honey mustard. Let's see what happens when we print with the honey mustard and this sponge. I'm going to get me a little honey mustard on my sponge, get me a nice little dip, and I'm going to just wipe it on the edge so that I have just enough to stamp with. Now, watch me. Look, the honey mustard makes a design too. I'm going to get a little bit more because you know what? I would like to overlap this one right here and have it overlapping with those two. So I made a design almost like a brick. But let's see what will happen if I combine paint, coffee, and honey mustard. We made a beautiful design, a circular design that has orange lines on it. Wow, I'm gonna do some paint on top. Woo, it's beautiful. Wow, look, our paper is filling up with stamps. It's becoming a beautiful work of art. Now let's see, I want to try one more thing. Let's see what happens when we put our baby carrot inside of these small circles right here. Let's get us a little bit more paint and pat it on here. Now I'm going to take our baby carrot and I'm going to put a design right in the middle of that circular design. And there you go, a bunch of circles that are orange that are overlapping with a small design in the middle. So that I used my paper well and I added more detail so that I could make it even more interesting and amazing. I am having fun. So my friends, I had a wonderful time with you today, creating some really, really amazing, interesting art using many, many different kinds of art making tools. So have a nice day, my friends.